You're listening to Puck and Roll. Here's your host, Patrick Lordy.
On today's episode, we talk about the rise of the USHL with Cole Caulfield and Sean Farrell leading the way. We take an extended approach to the Montreal Canadiens coaching staff, NHL 22, history, and more. This is episode 4 of Puck and Roll. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of Puck and Roll, your weekly roundtable about all things Montreal Canadiens. My name is Patrick Lorty, and we'll now be going directly to Elias Laradi with all the news and rumors surrounding the Montreal Canadiens this past week with his segment, The Habs Blitz.
This is the Habs Blitz with Elias Laradi.
Thank you, Patrick. So it's actually been a pretty, interesting week. We've actually had the announcement with the NHL ads that have been confirmed by all owners that starting in the 2022-2023 season, there will be NHL ads on jerseys. So that's an interesting look. A lot of people, there's been positive and negative feedback. People have seen what's going on with Europe, and they're scared that, it'll become like the NHL will become like Europe, where you'll just see, loads of ads on jerseys. And no news yet on Jesper Kotkaniemi or Eric Stahl. I can't confirm Kotkaniemi was back in Canada. He was actually on an Instagram post with Victor Mete, who we know is also his good friend. There was another funny rumor. Last week we were talking about Alex Galchenyuk. And this week, someone thought that maybe Max Domi was going to come back. My personal 2 cents, I don't see that happening, after the downward spiral that he's had the last couple of years as well. And, as we mentioned also with Galchenyuk last week, I don't think Domi, would have a spot on this lineup, to be honest. And basically that's what I've heard. Also, there was news today that sort of affects Quebec. Arizona, the city of Glendale decided not to renew their lease with the Arizona Coyotes, sparking debate now on Twitter most recently as this evening, saying that Quebec City could be a potential relocation for the Coyotes, who will have to vacate the arena as of June 30th, 2022. And that's the news and rumors for this week.
Thank you, Elias. And I think I can speak for everyone that Max Domi to Montreal is not happening. Forget it. We don't want him. You've done what you had to do. Now stay out. We like Josh Anderson. We love our power horse.
Definitely, for sure. I definitely agree. Anderson, I would even say, is an upgrade on Max Domi. He's bigger size. He's faster.
Oh, yeah. It's not the same character at all either.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Thank you very much, Elias. I also would like to take the opportunity to congratulate Elias on the undertaking of a new project. Everyone listening, you can follow Elias on CJLO 1690 AM in the Montreal region. That's the Concordia University radio, where Elias will be joining Chanelli Marie with the news reports on the top of the hour. On the topic of Chanelli, actually, the crew here at Puck and Roll would like to thank you for letting her for her lending her voice to us. Excuse me. The voice you hear at the beginning of our segments, as a matter of fact, is the one of Chanelli Marie. On behalf of all of us, well, thank you very much, and shout out to everyone at CJLO. Also, in other quick community news, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend my congratulations to our own Scott Cowan. He's also expanded his media portfolio, so to speak, and as of this season, Scott can be heard over at the Third Line Plug, which is an Ottawa Senators podcast, where he'll be occasionally presenting Montreal Canadiens segments. So, on behalf of all of us, congratulations, Mr. Scott. Now, let's talk Habs. Montreal Canadiens surprised no one in the offseason by removing the interim tag off of Dominique Ducharme in order for him to become their permanent and official head coach. What surprised many, however, is the lukewarm reception in the news by many fans and media outlets alike. Some question whether or not Ducharme is actually the man for the job, pointing out certain highlights of the past seasons, such as his sub-500 record of 15, 16, and 7 in the regular season compared to Claude Julien's 954 record for 611 win percentage. Many have also speculated that the rise of Corey Perry and Eric Stahl in the locker room after Game 4 against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round of last year's playoffs was not just a message being sent to the players to wake up, but to the coaching staff as well. Others might push the envelope even further and claim that Luke Richardson had his team handled even better than Ducharme would when the head coach was sent home and missed games after he was tested positive for COVID-19. So on the panel today to discuss this whole debacle about Dominique Ducharme is Sebastian Hai and Joshua Rosa. Welcome, guys. Sebastian, first of all, let me welcome you back to the show this
Thanks.
week. No problem. And I'm going to pass the puck to you first, my friend. What are your honest feelings about Dominique Ducharme having his Interreg tag removed and being named, from my calculation, the 25th head coach in Montreal Canadiens history?
The way I see it, it was impossible not to do it, right? Like you cannot go to a Stanley Cup final for the first time in 28 years and then remove the interim tag from the head coach, and like not bring the interim head coach back as a full-time head coach, because like he was the leader that brought Montreal to where they ended up, which was the Stanley Cup final. And like it is true that his regular season record was worse than Claude Julien's, but at the same time, it's important to realize that a coach brings his own unique system, and you cannot actually impose your own unique system on into the locker room and on the ice without like an extended preseason and like an entire offseason to really figure out how you're going to do it. Like you cannot come in middle of the season and immediately just bring in your own system and adapt like that, because players need to get used to it too, right? So the system that we saw Ducharme play was like a modified version of Claude Julien's that brought in some of his own views, but he couldn't do what he fully wanted to. So we might see a very different looking team this season that is closer to what Ducharme envisioned when he took the helm than when we saw last season. So I really don't see how the team could not have brought him back.
I absolutely agree, because I don't think it's happened very often in the history, not just of hockey, but it's sports in general, where a coach is fired midway through the season and an interim comes in and wins the whole thing. The only person that comes to mind off the top of my head is Dan Bylsma in Pittsburgh, when ironically Michel Therrien was the head coach and he got fired, and then the Penguins ended up winning the cup that year.
St. Louis too.
Oh yes, it's true. With Craig Berube, it's true.
Yeah.
Josh, what's your take on it? I mean, do you think that, on paper the statistics just show that Julien did a better job, but then again, statistics on paper show that Michel Therrien has a better win percentage than everyone except Scotty Bowman, Toe Blake, and Cecil Hart. I mean, I don't think we can put Michel Therrien in the same boat as Scotty Bowman to begin with. But I mean, what's your take on it? I mean, was it the right move to remove the intern tag? And what do you think his impact is going to be as of this season?
With Dominique Ducharme, I can see where certain people are coming with being not super happy about his re-upping his taking off of the interim tag, because he was 15, 16, and 9 in the regular season, and in the postseason, if we look at them as just hockey games, they played 22 games, won 13 of them. 13-8-1 was their final record. They did get they got the wins they needed, and I think the big thing was that Dominique Ducharme, in my opinion, won the Toronto series for Montreal. He changed up their defensive scheme to be a lot more aggressive and standing up on the blue line to stop the Toronto forwards from having that much time and space in the neutral zone, and really shut down that Toronto offense that was running all over them in the first couple of games.
Absolutely, but I think the one thing to take into consideration with that as well is that although after that fourth game, that's where we saw him playing like those really heavy minutes on his top 4 defensemen. Like I mentioned earlier, and this is what some of the pundits are complaining about, if you want to call it a complaint or whatever, Corey Perry and Eric Stahl stood up in the locker room. Now, that story has been confirmed by pretty much everyone. It has happened. Now, we don't know exactly what's been said, but a lot of people are saying that they not only address the team and being like, guys, we need to wake up. Like we can do, we're better than them. We could beat them, yada, yada, yada. But also the message was being sent directly to the coaching staff as well, being like, guys, you guys need to adapt as well. Now, would Dominic Ducharme and his team, of course, would the adjustment have been made if those leaders hadn't stood up? Now, that's my question. What do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea because while the ideas probably didn't come from Corey Perry and Eric Stahl to change the way that the game was defensively played, I'm just assuming. I don't think they went up to the coaching staff and said, hey, you should play Shea Weber 28 minutes a night and play him right up at the blue line.
No, I think only Jack Eichel is allowed to do that. Am I correct?
Same way that you look at with players, it's a learning experience. Like hasn't coached an NHL team before, as far as I know. I'm sure he hasn't, and I'm certain that he took stuff from that and he learned like when to make adjustments, how exactly to make them, how to trust your elder leaders on the team, and I think he's going to be just a better coach for that.
Sebastian, I'm going to use your little prospect heroes knowledge and ask you the question directly. Have you actually followed Dominic Ducharme's minor league career?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, again, is a little bit before my time because at least the beginning part of that. But he was the coach for the Halifax Mooseheads, and they won the Memorial Cup. So he was the coach when they had that dominant team with Jonathan Drouin, Nathan McKinnon, and Zachary Fucali. And yeah, so he was extremely strong there. Then he went over to Blainville-Boisbriand, and then also really reinvigorated that team, right? So he worked with players like Joel Teasdale, and like you can look at like his record in junior hockey, and it is incredibly impressive. Like every season that's with a team, like the next season has a better record, right? He never took a step down in any way with the same team, right? So like when he moved over to Blainville, like the first season was a bit rough, but then the next season was good. The year after was great, right? There's always this improvement, and he's never been fired from a single coaching position, which is insane to me, right? Like how, like to be an NHL coach and through your entire coaching career to have never been fired yet is really telling as to how high of a quality of coach you are. So I am totally in the boat of giving him at least a full year now to just put in his own system, give him time with the players, and just see where it takes them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, I think at the same time, don't you think this also signifies kind of a change of culture in the National Hockey League in terms of recycling the old coaches like we've done for so many years? I mean, gone are the guard of old of like the Mike Babcocks and the Jacques Martin and even Michel Terrien we were mentioning earlier, Bob Hartley. I mean, those guys are just long gone and everything. And now in comes Dominic Ducharme, André Tourigny in Arizona, even Jeremy Colleton in Chicago, for that matter, who's still like, Christ, he's younger than I am. and so do you think this is because the game of hockey has changed, not only culturally, but on the ice, off the ice, and it's just, hey, this is just a natural shift in generations, or is there more to it? What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's not really much old guard left. The one that I could really think of left is Joel Quenville in Florida, is kind of the last of that generation of coaches that is still coaching today. And I think you see it with what happened with Mike Babcock in Toronto recently. And John Tortorella is another guy who kind of has that old school fire in your belly, rah coaching style, in your face, that it seems like a lot of old coaches have, but a lot of new coaches are seem to be aiming towards the more nicer, supportive coaching role than trying